Hi, my name is Gavin Forkin. I'm an engineer and a scientist. I run a company called Plan Energy, and it's a renewable energy development company based in Sligo with about 30 staff across the UK and Ireland. I grew up in Sligo. My family moved here in the mid-1980s, and my parents and my siblings, we've all been involved in some voluntary capacity in sports and community in Sligo since then. Between 2018 and 2024, I was a volunteer director at Sligo Volunteer Centre. And in that period, from 2019 to 2021, I was the chair of the board in Sligo Volunteer Centre. Sligo Volunteer Centre is an organisation that places professionals in volunteer organisations around County Sligo and in Sligo town, and those organisations provide services in healthcare and in social services and in other settings like sports events and cultural events. My family has always been involved in some form of public service or charity fundraising, and that's been a big motivator for me. In 2017, my wife and I moved back to Sligo, having been away for about 12 years. I had already at that stage done 2 years of volunteer work in Asia with the voluntary service overseas on an engineering project. And coming back to Sligo, I wanted to share that experience, that volunteer experience, and my professional experience of working away in the UK for at least 10 years as an engineer at that point. I figured that coming from a professional service background, that Sligo Volunteer Centre was a good fit because itself delivers professional service to other organisations that recruit volunteers. And those volunteers can be placed in organisations that provide social services or health services or stewarding for major cultural or sporting events. So I started on the board of Sligo Volunteer Centre in 2018, and in 2019 I was elected chair of the board for a 2-year term until 2021, and then from 2022 to 2024 I was a regular director, trustee of the board. In that period, that coincided with the COVID pandemic, and it was very disruptive, obviously, for all kinds of organisations, including our own. So we implemented some changed work practices so that we could deliver our services remotely, and we moved the staff into a new, more comfortable office. And then we changed a lot of practices where we were delivering services to volunteer organisations. We brought them onto online training, online onboarding of their volunteers. And one of the things we were most especially proud of during COVID was to be able to provide all of the bedding and the furniture and the kitchen equipment for 3 sheltered housing units for a domestic violence charity. So we managed to do that through COVID while everybody else was locked down. So it was a really important outcome for us. I think good strategic planning for all volunteer organisations helps them utilise their funding and their resources better. Trying to leverage or multiply up the funding that's available through other sources is something that many businesses do automatically, but many volunteer organisations might not think to do. I learned primarily that you can run a business by just telling people what to do, but it's much better to influence people to do a thing rather than just telling them to do a thing. I also learned a whole new set of skills around seeing what's behind the professional, because everybody has a personal life and everybody has a story, and what you see 8 hours a day isn't the full picture. So I ended up being a much more rounded individual. And maybe the most important thing is I learned not to take the professional scene too seriously. There are far more heavy things going on in the world, and our work is just our work. I'd give advice that it has to be interesting for you. It has to be something that you feel strongly about in the first place. And it has to be something that you can lean into your professional experience. If you have to learn too much at the beginning, it probably will feel difficult. Recognise that there's a lot of support there, that the frameworks around voluntary directors are great, and the groups that you would join are usually strong and robust already. The most important thing is not to stress over it. You are bringing something to the table. If you're here at this event, you're already interested, and there will be an organisation that fits you. And take a leap. Nothing's going to go wrong. It will work out. And the frameworks and the supports are all there. And you will have a great time. You will influence and change somebody's life for the better.